Thank you very much for clicking on this video. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the entire discussion, I just want to let you guys know that this video is actually also on Spotify. So if you're on the go and you want to listen to this in your car, or if you're traveling, you want to listen to it, then we'll have a Spotify link down in the description below, so you guys can check it out there. We're gonna start doing that a lot more with our big discussion videos. So yeah, link in the description below for the Spotify. Let's get right into the video. What's going on, guys? TheCardGuyz here. It's all of us today. What are we doing? What's going on today? Josh, can you tell us?
You guys on YouTube are getting a look into our team meeting, basically, where we're going to discuss the metagame, our experiences during the RTN season, and our thoughts going forward.
Bet. Before we get into it, though, I do want to give a few shout outs to a lot of our awesome patrons in our Discord. They've been putting in the work lately, actually, and a lot of them got their invites this past RTN season. And I have a list of a few that I want to recognize because I know they've been busting their asses off to get that. So we have Alithos, number one. That dude did it in the last week with his Lexi deck. I'm super proud of him.
Hell yeah.
We got Don, we got Jevs, Alex Schlotnick, Kyle Garton, of course, fellow Alabama players. Happy to get to see them over the course of the last few weekends. We have Ed also. We have Terrence from Tennessee, and then we also have Cybrin from across the pond. So super proud of our patrons. They've been doing well. If you guys don't know, like I just said, we do have a Patreon where we have kind of a tight-knit community over there. We talk a lot on Discord. We play test with a lot of them. So if you're looking to get a little bit of benefit and, get to talk to us a lot, definitely hop on over there at patreon.com/TheCardGuyz. Link it in the description. And yeah, we also, if any of the stuff that we talk about today interests you in any way and you want to get some cards, we have an affiliate link over at TCG Player. Use our link. We get a kickback at no cost to you. It'd be really nice. Helps us get places. So yeah, let's just get into this. This is fun. This is going to be a fun time. Josh, explain to everyone what's going on.
Again. Did we want to talk about the RTN season first?
You know what? RTN season actually just happened. Let's all talk about it. Josh, tell us what happened in your RTN season.
All right. So I have the shortest story out of all these guys. I went to only one RTN. I went to Gulf Coast Hobby down in Spanish Fort, Alabama. Played the RTN there with my boy Boltyn and managed to take it down. Playing the Saber combo deck that I'm very, very familiar with. I've been playing that for over a year now.
What did you beat in the finals?
I beat my other main hero, Dorinthia. I actually haven't lost to Dorinthia since I moved to the USA in Blitz or in CC. So there's that. Except one practice game against Nathan. I lost that one, but we don't talk about that. But
yeah, that's never.
But yeah, the event I went to was a little bit odd. There was a lot of Dromai there. There was a couple of very strong Dory players there as well, and my day was basically playing Dromai and Dorinthia and a Kano. The Dromai really can't do much against Boltyn because they have to set up Ash, and then they have to set up dragons, and then they have to swing those dragons into a hero with 9 poppers, potentially 12 poppers. So that's never really going to work out for Dromai. Against Dorinthia, that's a little bit tougher because Dorinthia actually has a very high life total, considering that she has armor. And she has 2 block armor, most importantly, so she can basically auto block 3 of your saber swings. So that means you have less soul, your beacons are less powerful. So you got to play like the post combo game very carefully. In several of the games, I actually went down to like less than 10 cards in my deck. A couple of games I had to block with route, so I kind of ran out of that card. I also had one game against Kano where I comboed insanely fast. They also comboed insanely fast, but they were missing some resources. So I managed to get that one. If you guys want to know more about that deck and how to sideboard it, there's a Video currently on the Card Guys YouTube channel, so you guys can check that out. So yeah, that's my RTN season.
Congratulations.
Nice and short.
We love 100%. That's a great conversion rate right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll go next. Why not? I'm second on my list here. I got top 4 at the first week. That's it. I played Zoomer Fi. I'm Kyle. No, go ahead.
Played quite a few actually. We went to I think almost an equal amount of draft and CC tournaments. The first week we went all the way up to North Carolina. Kyle, Sebastian, and I went all the way up there. I got kind of unlucky with how the draft went. Some of the players did not know how to draft very well, and also dropped mid tournament after drafting while switching different heroes between packs. I went 4-2, which was a topping record, but I did happen to pick up some losses in the earlier rounds, which really hurt me. And then after that, we went to Alabama, played some CC. I quickly found out that Oldhim is not the way. It pains me,
Especially in our area.
We have a lot of prisms in our area, and we were not lucky. We had to see him, a lot of them. I eventually got my invite through a draft top 8. It actually both that one weekend, and we get to go to Nats. So I think drafting is where I'm gonna be strong this upcoming season, or I guess this season already. So
Congrats. Everybody, congrats.
That's so cheesy.
how about you, Alex? How'd you do this season?
I didn't get to go to the first couple of weeks of RTNs, so I was a little behind everybody. I was just kind of listening to y'all's stories. And then we had 2 draft RTNs the third week of the season. Went to the first one, went horribly. Drafted Dromai into one of the worst draft pods I've ever been in.
Your deck sucked in that one, by the way.
To give you an idea of
so
how bad it was, my third match of the pod was a Dromai mirror, and we both had multiple turns in that game where we had 4-card hands and an arsenal and a set attack with a dragon pass, and did absolutely nothing with our 5 cards. That's how bad our decks were. But we went to the second pod, went absolutely trash again, lost that RTN. Went to the second one, learned from some mistakes, and had some slightly better draft pods. Drafted Dromai into Fi, I believe, or Dromai in my second one. Lost 1 round to Fi at 1 life difference to Alex Slotnick, our patron. Congratulations to him. Kicked my butt once there. Made it into the top 8. Had to beat, unfortunately, a local friend. We were hoping not to get matched against each other, but we both needed our invite. I ended up coming away with the win by 1 life. I was playing Fi into his Icelander, and then I lost to Alex again in the top 4. So congratulations to him. Got my invite there. Then went to a CCRTN the next weekend. Since I already had my invite, I put away my Briar deck and just shuffled up Prism for the day and managed to get second place at that one. So only losing to another Prism who was built to beat the Prism mirror, and losing by 1 attack. If I had an attack in my arsenal instead of an aura, I would have had the game, I think. So it was very, very, very close, and happy to say I've got my invite in both formats this weekend. So I'm happy with that.
All right, Sebastian, you go.
I suck. I didn't get my invite. That's how it went.
You did suck.
But
not gonna lie, but you got XP, so you're
Yeah.
more than fine.
Yeah, I'm fine.
How many events did you go to, Sebastian?
5.
Yeah,
Yeah,
his first one was
Dude,
with
the
it
one
was
in North
bad.
Carolina was bad.
It was bad.
Yeah, we had the unfortunate pod. I started 2-1 with Icelander, and then went 1-3 with Icelander again, and found out she wasn't as powerful. And then the next draft we had, I went 6-0. The next draft RT, and then lost in top 8. And then with CC, I've just been out of practice, and we definitely did better at the end. The first CCRTN I went to, I played Icelander, went 2-3. Just the deck was not optimized at all. The sigil of permafrost build isn't where it needs to be. Went with Briar the next day, lost my top 8 winning in match against Ed in a 1-1 game. So, hey,
Yep.
but I'm happy to lose to Ed. He's a great player. And then
That was a good game, by the way. That was a very good game.
it was a great game. And then in the last CCRTN I played Briar again, went 4-2. Just it was a bigger tournament, so the breakers worked out because I lost round 3 and 4. I actually lost to the Prism player who went 6-0, and then to Alex. So I lost a decent in any other game that would have been the top, but how Flesh and Blood works with the where you lose breakers. So
Yep.
yeah, overall, I'm glad I improved throughout the season. Going from weak runs at RTNs, then going to a 6-0 run, getting
silver
blocked,
bulleted.
getting silver bulleted, and then going 4-2 in the last RTN with Briar, which I've been playing. Played 4 Prisms that day. Fuck Prism.
Amen.
Amen to that. What about you, Nathan? Tell us about your miraculous season.
We did all right. We went to 4 total 2 CC 2 draft, and we played Briar at both the CCs. We went 8-0 for the first one, securing the invite, and then we got 100% conversion in top 8. So I think the total record for the season was 23-5 or something like that. So really good. But I think, in the draft part as well, I did not draft file one time out of the 6 different pods I was in. Didn't draft file one single time. So it can be done, not to say that that's not the best strategy, because there's solid arguments there, but it can be done without drafting 5 for sure. But it was the first time I played Flesh and Blood, speaking more on the CC part, where I had an exact plan into anybody that sat across from me with any deck. The last time I had that feeling was indie calling time frame when I was on the combo Vis deck. So I brought a deck, it was refined, and I had a plan into everything. It might not have been the best, but I executed it, and it worked out. Overall, good season.
I think there's one important stat that Flesh and Blood posted about the drafts. They put a statistic up for all of the 3-0 decks and the hero breakdown for the 3-0 decks. And it was 33, 33, 34% or something like that.
Yep.
So each hero is 100% viable to go 3-0. Trust your gut, draft appropriately. Don't force a hero because that's what you want to do. You will get punished if you do that. Because
we know who.
Well, I punished him in one of those drafts. He just didn't get punished in the second one.
Fair enough.
So, but anyway, all 3 heroes are viable. Learn all 3 heroes. You will need to be able to play them all.
They say that draft is a self-correcting format. So even if a hero appears stronger than the others, if more people gravitate towards it, that means the other heroes have better quality cards and a better quality deck and can get some percentage points that way. And
so won Dallas, actually. Literally that. Yep. So.
Yep. And to Nathan's point about having a very refined deck where he feels very comfortable with all the matchups, that is something that is a result of him playing Briar for a very, very long time. I have that same feeling with Boltyn and Dorinthia. I have played every single matchup in the whole game, and once you have that level of commitment to a hero like on Briar or Boltyn or whatever, you've been put in many, many different situations, and that's why you can get that comfort feeling.
Yep.
And I think in general that this current metagame, which we're about to talk about, is actually very favorable to specialists because it's not a dominant tier 1 deck.
Yep.
But speaking of tier 1 decks, let's go back and take a look at what we did a month ago.
Woo,
Now let's see how
take a
wrong
look.
we were. All right, so
Go ahead
guys,
and grill us.
Oh, we fucked up.
This is what we.
I don't think we messed up too bad.
This
No,
is
it's not the
before we
worst.
played any games of CC here.
This was
Basically, in the
also before all the cards were out too, right?
Yeah, this was when they all got
yeah.
they all like.
Didn't we make a disclaimer that there was only like 75% of the card pool released when we?
I can't remember, but I think all the cards were out, but we didn't have any games under our belt yet.
Yes.
Because I think they weren't on
Yes.
TTS yet or something like that. Or remember the US release was 1 week late, so
Yep.
we didn't even get our hands on the
Mhm.
product. But anyways, this is what we did last time, and we've been making tier lists for a while here. So we're gonna mix it up today, and we're gonna go with a alignment chart today. Because we think there's
Woo!
2 important things right now that your deck needs to be able to do. The first thing that it needs to be able to do is
Gotta
it
be
needs to be
Fi.
able to beat Fi.
Mhm.
That's
And
it.
we're going to discuss why that's important shortly. Second, you also want a strong deck that has good matchups into the rest of the field, or just has a very strong game plan that's stable. And yeah, so this is the y-axis is the deck strength, and you can think of the x-axis as kind of your speed plus your disruption level. If you
Gotta go
have enough,
fast.
if you have enough speed and enough disruption, then you'd be over here. If you're lacking in one of those 2 areas, you'd be kind of in the middle. If you have neither speed nor disruption, you're going to be over here. So yeah, we have all the CC heroes right now. Notably, there's no Chain. Sorry, Sebastian, and there's no Starvo.
Sorry, no.
Go
They
ahead
are
and-
not here.
Go ahead and grab
yeah.
Fi and put him up there.
All right, Fi
Put him right in the middle at the top.
obviously can beat Fi and cannot beat Fi, obviously, but it's also very strong. So let's talk about why Fi is so strong and why he's actually deserving of having a whole axis devoted to him.
All right, Kyle, you're the Fi specialist,
that's
Mr.
me?
Top
Oh.
4.
Oh,
Oh my god! I just play stubby hammers and win. That's what I do. I mean, the deck can just present 5 chain links a turn, 4 to 5 chain links a turn, and it just can leak damage. And then when it hits its big turn, it's really hard to stop. You know, you need, if you're not an ice hero, it's going to be very hard to do anything to. They can come in for what 50 something damage, 60 damage, just raw damage, off of stubby Art of War or Spreading Flames, Art of War, Stubby Hammer, Link's deck. So the deck just presents too much damage from what people are complaining about. So that's realistically why it's just the best deck right now. It can just have a strong turn and then just turn the course of the whole game very fast.
Yep.
Counterpoint though, why you let the Phoenix Flame hit or Phoenix Form hit though?
Yeah.
yes. Oh man, bro.
Yeah, those pictures of the 60 damage turns are not
Oh.
realistic.
Not in
But
the slightest.
they can hit
Work
that
on your
damage
defense,
point, but,
please.
I think the most important thing to talk about with this deck is kind of a strategy that we've seen in the past from other successful decks, which is the ability to handle both sides of the meta. And that's it. Fi's inherent strong point is being the best aggro deck. So anytime it comes up against aggro, it's literally just faster, which is the point of an aggro deck, is to race your opponent to 0 life. And Fi will race you to 0 life faster than you will 100% of the time, unless it just stumbles over itself and trips and falls. It just puts out too much damage, especially when your opponent is not blocking. And its ability to transform from a 0 block armor kit that puts out 50 damage in a turn to a 7 block armor kit that can put out 40 damage in a turn still, even without the armor, is absolutely unbelievable. And it has multiple powerhouses that pump throughout the turn, which, like you said, there's Spreading Flames, there's Art of War, there's Stubby Hammers, there's just a bunch of different things that are constantly giving buffs, and the ability to, at any point at your choosing, pop Mask of the Pouncing Links and go fetch another 8 damage at the end of a combat chain. So it's not something that your opponent can really play around, kind of how they can play around Mask of Momentum. And that's where the problem comes in, is with Mask of Momentum, it was like, okay, I'll just block every 3rd attack. You'll never get a draw. That's my strategic blocking. I'll, punish you to a certain extent. Whereas it's like, okay, the first thing you don't block out of these 6 things, how many decks do you know that can block 6 attacks in a turn? and then they'll just go grab, whatever it is and punish you at the end of the combat chain. But and they don't even have to do it. They can just do it whenever they want to, whenever they have that opening. So I think that's where it kind of gets its inherent strengths from, is its ability to handle the slower decks and handle the faster decks. And unless you're running a specific amount of disruption or a specific, ice, pummels, consuming volition, like things that cause them to discard or not have a big enough hand, or punish them for not playing enough blues, that sort of thing. It's just very hard to tackle.
I think there's also a point about the consistency and reliability of the deck. Like, the deck doesn't actually care whether it draws Spreading Flames or Art of War generally. Like,
Right.
they have so much redundancy in their deck. Like, there's so much redundancy in their starters that I just call them Draconic Head Jab 1, Draconic Head Jab 2, Draconic Head
Okay.
Jab 3. I don't actually remember the names of all the cards because they basically do the same thing, right? So,
Yep.
yeah. So there's also a certain percentage of games that Fi will not lose, and whenever a deck has the ability to basically steal part of your win percentage away
Star vote.
without you being able to do anything, it's always going to feel kind of unfair.
Yep.
The only decks that really can do that, I guess, currently are Kano, Reinhardt,
Briar.
Briar. Yep, those are currently the ones that, and Fi would join them, right? Okay, so now that we've talked about why Fi is so strong and why it's deserving of a whole axis in our chart, let's talk about our tier 1 heroes. We can either start with Prism or Briar. Those are the ones that we put at the top of tier 1. Which one do we want to talk about first?
Nathan can
Then
go ahead and
Prism's
talk
the
about
easier
Briar.
one. Oh, okay, we'll do Briar.
And then I can do Prism after if you want.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
So let's. Okay, so I think we can agree that Briar is fairly strong. All right, but
Absolutely.
the question is it quick enough and consistent enough or disruptive enough to beat Fi? Is it kind of a 5-5 matchup, or is it more favored towards Fi? Where should I put this?
It's definitely favored toward Fi, unfortunately.
Okay.
And she has the higher high roll potential with channel mount, force of nature. Like, that's how you win that game, right? You basically have 2 to 3 turns to get channel. If you don't, you just get outpaced, right? And you don't have a whole lot of disruption. You can run Consuming Volition, which is a fine card. Erase Face is a little bit clunky, but you can definitely run those as well. But if you look at the 5 decks, man, they really don't need the Draconic part. They just, like, it turns off their Ember Blade, like, and makes the Phoenix Flame, come in for 1 less. But she just doesn't have the consistency that Fi has. And that's what I would say would put her in a lesser spot for sure.
I agree.
There's also some.
Go ahead.
I was going to talk about Fi. Is actually another good thing about him is he's fairly resistant to CNC in that he doesn't need 5 cards to deal 30 damage.
Right.
Like, a lot of heroes are very, very dependent on their arsenal. They stick something very important there, but Fi is like, well,
turns out they
sure.
can just search. Turns out they can just search cards whenever they want them.
Yeah, the little is very good apparently. Yeah. So yeah, we'll put this here, and we'll kind of, I guess, we'll adjust her strength.
Yep.
If we need to, right? But we're gonna, in terms of the x-axis, you're pretty confident it goes here.
100%.
Okay, sure.
She right.
All right.
there.
So, all right. The next hero we want to talk about is Prism.
Unfortunately, this one's also going to be to the left, but it also does have a very high power level. One of the main reasons I'm attracted to Prism in this format, even with Fi being as dominant as it is it has 4 almost auto win matches, which I don't think any other hero in the format has. Bravo, Oldhim, Icelander, and Dromai are unbelievably easy matches for Prism. And I would say her win rate against those is probably 90+%, which is crazy. But unfortunately, she does suffer against Fi. But another cool thing about Prism, and always has been a cool thing about Prism, and why she's so close to LL, is her ability to adapt. She can switch into a more aggro centric build with Phantasmaclasm, Herald of Protection reds, Fractal Replications, what you name it. She's got all the red attacks, and she can speed Fi down if they stumble. She does block fairly well with, if you let her build up a few spectral shields, like say the protections hit, you get a spectral shield, you're able to banish, make another shield. You have some protection from on-hit effects for just at least 1 attack or 2 attacks on Fi's turn. And her on-hit effects can continually go. So say if they slide into the generic equipment that doesn't have the block, that's a mistake, by the way, if you're a 5 player. The erudition is going to punish you. And they're going to draw multiple cards and deal 25 damage, which puts you on a 2-turn clock, 3-turn clock. And yes, that is capable for Fi to do, but they also don't run as many poppers as most decks, so the heralds are just inherently harder for them to deal with. So she can compete with Fi, but it is definitely not a good matchup for her. It is, unfortunately, he's just too fast and he's going to out consistency. I would put her somewhere similar to Briar, depending on your build. But because I think Prism and Briar both have kind of a 50-50 matchup at the moment, I would put Briar probably a little bit ahead of her, well, in a skilled player's hand, but it is pretty close. But she's just overall power level in the format might even be above Briar's at the moment, in my opinion. But so I would put her probably a little higher on the chart. As far as like towards the top, but as far as can beat Fi, probably a little less than Briar. That would be my opinion.
I think Prism is very, very adaptable, and as soon as we see the meta converge a bit, she'll be able to adapt, just like she's always been able to, just like to your point. Okay, let's move on and talk about. So we have these 2 tier 1 heroes. Let's talk about what we put in tier 1.5. I guess I want to start with Oldhim. Now, traditionally, this was the deck that could control the aggro decks. At last Nationals, we saw Michael Hamilton bringing, or at the Orlando Calling, we saw a defensive Ice Oldhim plowed through multiple Briars. But I guess this is mainly for Nam. What is the difference between Briar and Fi, and what makes it so hard?
Well, for Briar, I've been having issues with really stopping them because we're adapting to try to beat Prism, since Prism was a really big part of the meta, especially in our area. So we're adapting to play a much more aggressive type of Oldhim player, or like Oldhim style. And that hinders us from playing the more defensive cards, more defensive reactions against Briar. And that even with the more aggro style of Oldhim, we're still losing the Prism, but it's not 100% forfeit. You still have to tweak it as much as you can to try to have a game against them, right? And that also hurts us against Fi, since we won't be able to be producing as many frostbites or things to slow them down. Our disruption goes down for more go again cards, and most of the go again cards don't have on hits. They're just purely damage, and that's where it hinders. And Fi can just run away the game if we don't give them enough frostbites or hit them with spinal. And it's not as good as Bravo at the moment, because Bravo has all the all the disruption. So in my eyes, and I love Oldhim, but he's just not good enough at the moment to beat Fi or most of the top decks. So with the correct build, if you forgo the whole Prism plan, like trying to fight Prism, he may be better to beat Fi, right? But it's still not very good. I feel like he's somewhere on the, he's still strong because he can still beat plenty of decks, right? But he's definitely under those 3 that are already currently listed, in my opinion. I think right about there.
Right about here.
Right about there. Yeah.
Okay, so can you talk about the Oldhim versus Fi matchup a little bit?
From my experiences, before the deck, so I feel like the all-in Fi deck, when they weren't running the more defensive armor, was much easier because then they can't really block as well. That means you're getting your on hits more often. But they have adapted to playing the Furnace and the Shukos, and so they can still block out the one turn that you really need to slow them down. And unless you're getting consistent turns of disruption, you're not going to be able to keep up with it.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to Lexi. Seb, you're the Ranger player around here.
Oh yeah, totally.
I do play Azalea. I do not play Lexi. So
All right.
I mean, you have the most experience here, but I guess we've all seen some Lexis as well during our TN season. So
Yeah, where's Travis when you need him?
Well, Nathan and Alex and I play with Alithos, and that's what he plays. And so we did test against Lexi as well. What do you guys think Lexi goes right now?
Sebastian, what do you think?
I mean, can't beat Prism unless you're going full lightning, right? It's really rough. I
Right.
think it's a hard deck to pilot because knowing what to do on your off turns is also a really rough part of the deck. And
Yes.
it has weaknesses like the 3 blocks in the deck against Bravo or Oldhim or decks putting out disruption are your arrow cards, which you need for your turn. So that means you have to block in efficiently with 2 blocks that are, you know, your fuse targets and your non-attack actions. So I feel like it's strong into aggro. It's definitely, I feel like all the ice decks right now are kind of like what's the word? Kind of like how Kano was at the Pro Tour, right? It's like a sneaky tournament deck, like a specific counter for a specific tournament, not so much great into a overall field. Like maybe there will be a build of Ice Lexi that's amazing into the Pro Tour for someone predicting the meta, but for like the calling in Lyle, Lille, I don't know if it will be a great pick. So but I don't know enough to say what's his win percentage against Fi. Nam or Alex, what about you guys? Have you seen it up against Fi?
A few times. Not as much as I would like to at this moment, but from what I've heard talking to people that play Lexi, she does have the capability to beat Fi with how much disruption she has, because I don't think there's any other deck besides Bravo in the format that puts out as much disruption as Lexi can. She constantly presents, you know, discard card, make frostbite, you know, do these things. If she has tempo, Fi is not winning. Unless Fi has, you know, like they just have to keep blocking, but like they don't block efficiently if they get that one good use out of their armor. And then they can't block efficiently. So if Lexi can keep the tempo, then she's got the game. But it's kind of similar to most decks at the moment, where if you aren't able to keep the tempo, Fi just puts it in you real quick.
Yep.
And that's we'll talk about more of that
Yep.
later with other disruptive decks like Bravo and stuff. But from what I've heard, I think as far as being good against Fi, I would probably put her on the right of the line, being a deck that can take down Fi. But as far as power level in the format, I would probably put her below the line. That would be my personal opinion, though.
Yeah.
We saw that Lexi actually had very poor conversion rates and didn't even, like, a lot of them didn't even make day 2 of the recent calling in the Netherlands. So
yep.
Either
half
that
of
has
that,
to do
of
with
that could be skewed because half of that was draft, right? So they could have just had like a really bad draft.
Yes.
And you know, so that's something that you at least have to consider it. Now it's definitely not good that none of them made it, but you know,
which I think is pretty interesting for the next Pro Tour coming up, because I think it kind of makes Prism kind of a better pick, right? Because if you go 3-0 in the draft and then you can into round 4, you're not necessarily playing against Fi. You can play against like one of your auto win matches. I feel like that's why Prism did so well in Utrecht in getting into the late rounds, because that whole draft element.
No, it makes sense. You can't really 100% base your what you're expecting to play against based off of record at an event like that. That's split format. So.
All right, so we're gonna put Lexi kind of a little bit here, a little bit to the right. All right, let's move on from Lexi and let's talk about Dash. So I might be one of the few players here that played Dash, and I've also played against some of the Hong Kongers that play Dash. So the current meta build of Dash is Teklo Pounder boost aggro, but the current build also has enough sideboard slots to include the whole traditional induction chamber, plasma purifier control style with Sink Below and Fate Foreseen as well. So in terms of speed, the boost Dash deck is actually very quick, and in terms of their explosiveness, the first 3 turns are their most explosive turns because their Teklo Pounder is counting down from 3. So if the game is only 3 turns, like it will be with Phi, I mean, Dash can output almost the same amount of damage if they draw well, and Dash also has the ability to block somewhat decently because they will have Crown of Providence plus the Foundry Hearts, so they actually have a little bit of extra help there. So I think that the thing is the consistency of the deck. I think if it's average draws, the armor isn't quite enough for Dash to do it, but I don't think it's actually that bad either, from what I've heard. The boost Dash is actually fairly consistent, especially if you include a lot of the cards that say if this hits, your next attack gets +3. I mean, the deck just goes really fast. High Octane is an insane card, and it's very, very possible for Dash to output, 25 damage on a High Octane turn. So I would say it's slightly 5 favored. In terms of its position in the meta, I think Dash has pretty stable matchups against a lot of heroes, and again, just like Prism, is very adaptable. So I'd kind of put it like somewhere here. Anybody else have some thoughts on that?
I would agree. Yeah, I think Dash is really strong against a lot of these heroes. Like it beats Guardian still with the control matchups that it can side into.
It takes in my opinion, it takes a very skilled pilot to navigate Dash very well. I've played against 3 or 4 since the format's changed, and the matchup has felt very hit or miss to me. Like if they didn't hit double High Octane, I've played like 3 or 4. The only one I lost was somebody who hit double High Octane and did like 26 damage to me in 1 turn. I don't know if that's very indicative of how it usually goes, but Briar was just faster than Dash when I was playing. And I don't know.
The builds that I see currently, they run rotary rams. So there's a little bit of opting there, plus the plus power, and then I think it's combustible courier, the one that gives
That's
plus
the buff
attack.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is kind of the more meta build right now, is kind of a little bit of opting, a little bit of on-hit effects, since Dash doesn't really have on-hit effects. I mean, combustible courier is kind of like Modern Skies, sort of. It's like, you don't block this, I'm going to make rune chance. You don't block this, my next boost card is going to hit you hard.
One thing we didn't mention, though, that is a strategy for Dash to beat Phi, is its very rare ability to go block with your equipment, block with your equipment, block with your equipment, magnetic shockwave. And that is can be a problem, because Dromai has this singular card in its deck. It is a 1-of, but it can help win that matchup, which says when it attacks, destroy your helmet. And they do need their armor to really be explosive, and that's and that's a stretch, I know, but it is an ability that most decks don't have.
T-bone into shockwave is an out.
Yeah.
I think Phi is 50% into Dash naked, with no armor, sitting down, like just nothing, just swinging like 50-50. And I think that if you want a deck that's 45% into everything in the field, you bring Dash.
And then you use your skill to win the matchup.
Right. If you're a great player, then great. Like, you would do good at anything, right? But like other than Oldhim, like what is Dash like actually maybe Prism, right? Like that's
good into Prism.
Dash has
Right.
a very good Prism bench.
right. So you got 2 favorable matchups, and then the rest, I would argue, are like just bad matchups.
Below average.
Yeah, just none of them are like horrible.
You can
but,
win
like,
any match, but you're not going to win the majority of any of them.
right, but you'll lose more. that's the point.
Okay, so you're kind of thinking like here is what I'm hearing.
The power level, I would put it on the line.
Yeah, I think she's a rather
Same.
weak deck, like maybe average. Yeah, like on the line. Yeah,
So on the line is considered tier 2.
yeah.
I'd say like this is
Yeah.
1.5 ish.
Yeah. Unless you're Alan Lau, then sure, bump it up to 1.5.
Yes,
but
that I agree. That is one thing. That skews
Right.
my view. I'm like,
Right.
I keep losing the Dash, but is it? No, I keep losing to Alan Lau.
yeah,
That's
he's
what's
put 1,000
happening.
hours in that deck, so that's
No.
Hey man, there's
All right,
always
I'm-
going to be the gem guy who wins. No matter
Right.
what the format is.
All right, I'm gonna put him slightly above the line. I think
Sure.
he's high tier 2. Okay. What's another hero that we put into 1.5? We put Bravo into 1.5.
Yep.
This is a
pretty good.
disruptive deck. We need to talk about disruptive decks.
Deck's made a resurgence. I love it.
So with this deck, I feel like if he can draw his destruction or like disruptive cards every turn, he could be fine. Because like I've gone through plenty of turns where I go Spinal Crush, Crippling, Tear Asunder, and Fi doesn't get to block anything and just straight die because they don't have a turn. But also I've drawn into that one turn where I just have to attack with Hammer, and that's all they need. That's all they need to go off, and I'm dead.
I have witnessed those games where it's like, oh, Bravo's
The-
winning this game, and then you see the 4 blue hand, and you're like, oh. Five's like, all right, I'll go to 5. You're at 26. All right, you don't get another turn this game.
So is it common for Fi to run the full fridge and then kind of wait for a good hand?
I've
Throw the
come
fridge
to
in
the
front of it.
conclusion that we just need to fridge it up. We play some sync belows too, because like
play-
their only card I don't care about is Crippling Crush. I give a shit about every other card. Crippling Crush, I'll take it. I'll just play with 2 cards and set a card and pass my turn. You know what I mean? And then if they don't have the crippling the next turn, I have to worry about Spinal, which I can't play my turn, or Crush the week, or Chokeslam hurts a little bit. So like those are the cards I care about. Crippling sucks. Get that
And
card out of here.
I think it's correct to play the armor suite with maybe a couple sync belows into Bravo as the 5 player, just to wait for the turn where they don't actually have the disruption to stop you.
Mhm.
Both of these decks, Lexi and Bravo, and any disruptive deck in general, is going to be like if Fi has the fridge, I feel like they can still win out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean it's draw dependent. If you're drawing well, you're drawing well.
So
Yeah.
where would you put him above the line? We've already heard that you kind of think he's
Yeah.
to the right here.
I
But,
think
sure.
Bravo's kind of like, what's the word for it? I think he's good into Fi, and that's where he fits in this format right now. I think he's more of a fair deck. So I would put him slightly. I'd put him probably on the same roundabout as Dash, but since he can beat Fi, he's obviously higher up.
Well,
in-
he
in,
also
like,
has
the
a
meta.
decent matchup against. Well, he wins the Guardian matchup for the most part because of the dominate,
Sure.
and then he also has a roughly 50-50 in my eyes against Briar as well.
Into
'Cause
most aggro decks, he's at least
Yeah.
50-50 pretty
Yeah.
much.
He can beat Lexi pretty easy.
yeah, and he can. I mean, he still has the capabilities of blocking out because everything blocks for 3 in that deck. And if you're playing the more defensive version, you still have access to all the defense reactions in the game, including that all you got, which is really good into some of the newer aggro decks as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's also mention that people are afraid to put defense reactions in their deck right now. For some reason, they're
That
like,
is
it's
true.
not worth it. But
Yeah,
I'm like,
Starvo's gone. We don't need him anymore.
It's like, how many Bravos do you have to play to eventually go, you know what? Maybe we can fit 3 sinks in the sideboard or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Jam the fridge, play 3 sinks, and hope
And
for
you
the
saw
best.
that at the European Championship. The guy who won that put 3 sinks in his deck for
Yeah,
Bravo.
Yeah, he did
and
this. He did the exact same thing. Yeah, that's
Smart
what we're
man.
talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
smart
very
man,
smart.
exactly.
yeah, shout out to that guy because that was a beautifully made list.
So I definitely think he's in the right quadrant there. Not how strong he is. He's probably on the same level as probably Oldhim.
Yeah.
Like right about there. Would anybody
Okay.
disagree?
No.
I
I
think it's about
agree.
right there. Yeah.
It's
I
fair.
played against him a bunch of times, and I mean, Prism's the only deck that I go into Bravo not scared. Every other deck I go into Bravo, and I know there's a chance that he just pummels me to sleep and I die.
Here we are.
All right.
To float.
Well,
Do Viserai
Was-
next.
Yeah, Viserai.
all right. This is the one we got quite wrong in our initial tier list.
Yes.
Viserai has been performing very, very well in the RTN season.
So originally, I
Um,
think we thought that he really lost his edge, right? Because he lost a strong equipment piece. And I feel
He
like
lost his pop-up turn.
yeah, we lost the big combo, which thought probably weakened him a lot, but they swapped up his old gameplay into just Moth Skies, Shrill, into Sword Swing. I mean, it's super consistent. They do it almost every turn, and it's presenting what a bunch of Rune Chant with a very strong attack, and Revel in the Rune Blades is still a heck of a card.
and arguably they have the best card and weapon in the game in Rosetta Thorn. I think that is, you could easily say that that's the best card in the game at the moment. So,
Card value wise, he's up there.
Yeah.
I mean, Runeblade cards are just that. The value is there, card for card.
Viserai is the most efficient deck in the game right now.
okay.
Just all about if it like a red mauve into a red shrill, pitching a blue is 3 cards and it represents 7 plus the 1 rune chant in the back. That's 8. Threaten on hit, make 3. So that's 11 plus Rosetta is 2 and 2. That's 15 on 3 cards.
On a basic.
That is
basic turn.
That is an average turn, and I mean, 15 damage on 3 cards. That's so above rate. And he's got disruption options. He's got he's a little anti-fatigue because he has split damage, and that's way harder to prevent. Everything comes in breakpoints. Like it's got a lot going for him right now. I'd say on our tier list that we did before the RTN season, we were kind of wrong on him.
We're very wrong.
I think we mentioned a lot that he was, couldn't get past the Guardian match. And I think maybe how we got that wrong was you were talking about his efficiency. You failed to mention that that's only technically 2 cards that he's burning while doing that combo. Because what we thought he was going to be weakened to was people just block out and fatigue. Well, when he's only burning 2 cards to present 15 damage, he's going to leak damage, especially when it's from 4 different sources. It's like Breakpoint, Rune Chant, Rosetta Thorn Physical, Rosetta Thorn Arcane. One of that damage is getting leaked through at some point or another.
Right.
Pretty much no matter how efficient the Guardian is. And his ability to do that every turn is so high that he's just going to keep chipping away at you until you die, which I think that might have been where we got it wrong. We just kind of wrote it off like, oh, he can't get past the Guardians, when it turns out he really can.
Which quad? We haven't actually talked about his 5 matchup. Can we talk about his 5 matchup?
Bad.
He is not fast enough. I don't. I mean, we've played plenty of against Viserai with Fi, and he's just not fast enough.
It can high roll you.
It definitely can high roll.
For sure. I've seen it happen.
But it has this fascinating ability to play 2 costed cards that discard cards. Nathan, can you tell us about those?
Wait, what?
I said it has this fascinating ability to play 2 costed cards that have on-hit effects, essentially, with pummel and
you got
Reek of Corruption,
Consuming Volition.
That's
yeah,
my
you
favorite
can
one.
you can run the Viscard, right? And just like I said, you have the disruption. Like I think Viserai is at least 50-50 into five. If there's a caveat on that. If you
Love
dedicate a
caviar.
decent amount of deck space to that matchup, right?
Yep.
So like maybe a Spellblade Strike is obviously the better card, but if you swap that out for a Consuming Volition and you make choices like that where it's a slightly lesser card, you can easily become 50-50 with 5. Maybe what I'm hoping for can eke out a little bit of an advantage.
So he's either here or here.
I would put
That is
him
a better-
directly under him, like almost like hero picture over 5's text box.
Because
like,
he's still
That's,
very
unfortunately,
strong.
that doesn't work. With
Yeah.
Oh man.
but like, yeah, like
That's
I'd put him
fine,
right
right
there
We'll
with
put,
him.
we'll put it.
Sure.
He's still very strong into a lot of the heroes in the format right now. So I think he's up there with Briar, Prism and stuff. And like Nathan said, he can run the disruption package where it can really slow Fi down.
Okay.
How about Icelander next?
All right.
I want to hear Sebastian talk about Icelander.
Yeah.
He's been playing a
Um,
lot actually. So
I mean, I just think the main problem with Icelander is what we said about Lexi. It's that Fi can kind of just like do nothing and then wait for you to just go 3 arcane, make a frostbite, and they go, okay, what else? And you're like, actually nothing else. And they're like, oh, that's cool, belittle, search my blue, pitch that, and go off. And then you just don't have equipment that blocks. I think that's a crazy big thing for Icelander. Other than the Coronet Peak, you just don't have any block in any of your equipment. If there was like a generic arm piece or a wizard arm piece that had blade break, man, I would love that. But it's just kind of rough. The Guardian matchups are you can win with combos, but you have to play precision the whole game. Your illusionist matchup's awful. I feel like it's missing a little something. I feel like the right build can get there, but I think it's definitely going to take a skill pilot, a very refined build, probably a total meta call build for a specific tournament. So I would put it like I would say it has a favorable ish, like at least a 50-50 into 5, but its overall strength into the like vacuum of a meta is probably very weak. Especially with decks playing belittle. That's the main thing. Once that gets, goes away and they don't have access to a blue, that's going to be a big thing. Also, the way, like I said, the pilot on Icelander is going to be important. But yeah, I would put it right there where it's weak, maybe strong into 5, but weak into pretty much like everything.
I have heard from the best Kano in the world that Icelander is harder to play than Kano. Shout out to Bun.
Yeah.
This deck requires a ton of experience, and I think each matchup is pretty unique. And it's just going to take a very, very dedicated pilot with a very, very tuned deck to even get into tier 2, I think.
Yeah.
I think you can kind of scratch the surface of that in draft. Playing Icelander into Dromai, even like that, which is supposed to be one of your worst matchups.
Right.
There's generally, unless they have just obviously a busted turn, there's generally a way to at least try to make the game close or win the game. But there are a lot of overzealous blockers and people that don't respect Icelander's only ability to win the game, which is arsenal a card and hit them with the weapon. It requires a dedicated play style, and you have to follow that play style. And if you block incorrectly one time, miscalculate your resources one time, the game is over. It's very, very punishing. It does take a skill pilot to play.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So I mentioned that you need to know your matchups very well. So let's talk about Boltyn. I think this is another hero where you really need to understand your matchups very, very well.
Can't confirm it beats 5.
Yes. So this is actually, I think at the moment, one of the few heroes that actually can beat Fi. The power level is kind of dependent on the pilot, I would say. This, because you have to understand exactly which each hero and each class and each talent and each hero talent card can possibly do to you. The piloting of this deck is actually quite hard, but I think it's actually fairly favorable. And I'm not sure where to put it in terms of strength. I would say it's definitely like somewhere in this quadrant here. I know a lot of people are going to be very like, they're going to, what the heck,
They're about to
it's the
attack
same
you,
win rate
Josh.
as a Azalea, right?
You may have a biased opinion on this matter.
I do have a very biased opinion on this, as you can see. Oh, there. So let's just talk about why I think he can beat Fi. First of all, Boltyn is actually extremely good into attack action-based heroes like Ninja. They basically can't block you very efficiently at all, because that will trigger the first line of his hero ability, which gives his attacks +1, which allows him to give it go again. So in general, decks that have a lot of attack actions like Bravo, like Dash, like Lexi, like Katsu and Fi, they don't defend Boltyn particularly well. But not just that, Boltyn can combo very quickly against Fi, so it's kind of a race in that sense. And I think if you combo off, your chance of winning is basically above 90% because they can't effectively block your combo turn, so you're probably going to gain 10 life. So it's not, so the strength of combo Boltyn is not just dealing damage, but also healing damage as well. So it's not just, oh, I dealt 30 damage, just like there was actually a 40 health swing here.
Yep.
So I think you can actually heal to a great enough degree that you can actually just win the game from there. Into the general field, like Boltyn has abysmal matchups against the ice heroes. I actually don't think there is any way to beat Icelander as combo Boltyn unless you get very lucky. Lexi is just extremely annoying. You basically have to keep 3 cards to do anything, so you leak a ton of damage. Oldhim requires insane amounts of setup, and you can just lose to double Blizzard, or just having the Frost Hammer actually makes how you can combo as Boltyn. It's the Frostbite is actually extremely relevant against combo Boltyn. But I think he has a decent matchup against Fi. I think he has a decent matchup against both of the Rune Blades. I think he's fine against Bravo and Dash. And the power level, I think, is slightly above average, and I think he is slightly favored against Fi. This obviously will go to the top right as you get better with the hero. But yeah, I would say roughly here.
Can confirm, got my shit pushed in by Boltyn
Well,
while playing Fi.
Would he be more? Would he be more to the right?
I think people are still going to be on the Switch style and possibly even Raiden. If you're playing Raiden, it's over here. If you're playing Switch, it's over here. I think you have to dedicate the.
If it's Raiden, it's down.
Raiden is actually down here.
Yeah.
Okay. I talked about this on
The other video.
Raiden is just too fair of a deck at the moment. So that's not where you want to be.
Okay.
The Switch style, I can see that it has some uses, but I think your sideboard slots are better used towards upping your defense and improving your combo speed. So things like Sink Below Fate Foreseen and Whisper the Oracle, I think, are very nice. Yeah, so I would say he's roughly here. Like I said, I don't think anybody can really be over here because Fi can just steal a certain amount of games from anybody. So I don't think anybody can realistically have like a 90% win rate or 80 even. If I had to estimate, I'd say he's either. It kind of depends on the build of Fi as well. I think the correct build of Fi into Boltyn is going to include like 2-block armor. If you run 2-block armor, maybe it's harder for Boltyn. I don't know. Actually, no, that won't actually work because then you need 3-block non-attack actions, which he doesn't have.
Yeah.
Never mind. So
You gotta go as
basically-
fast as possible.
Yeah. So basically it becomes who goes as fast as possible. So I don't think there's actually going to be many games between these two. It's either the deck was arranged in an order where Fi wins, or the deck was arranged in an order where Boltyn wins, and you're just going through the motions. So that's kind of a matchup that I don't even really want to play that much because it's like, it's almost, there's not much to play for. Like you either win because
you
of the
lose.
order of your deck, or you lose because of the order of your deck.
Wow.
So that's kind of like the Boltyn mirror, which I think is one of the most degenerate things in the world. Anyways, so yeah, I'd say it's like roughly there.
Okay. All right. What's next?
Let's talk about
What's
Levia
next?
real quick.
Yeah.
All right.
Here,
Here we
hold
go.
on. Let me call my buddy Mansant real quick. Let me see what he thinks.
All right.
Well,
He forwarded my call. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Couldn't get him on.
It's
right,
okay.
so-
Levia forward her wins.
All I know is if you're in a 10-man tournament, it's the best deck in the whole room. God damn it.
I like
Dang.
I like the fumble stuff though. Don't get me wrong, it's neat.
That was targeted.
It's neat. Oh
Um,
no.
sheesh.
so
I
last
don't know much
season-
about Levia.
If you
And that's why I was trying to call my buddy. My apologies.
if you're in a room full of people that realize that hero by design self-destructs at a certain point in the game.
Yep.
If you're in a room full of people that know that hero cannot have a positive win percentage into half of the decks. Just can't, right? Like you take in something that blocks as good as, I don't know, let's say Lexi, right? Like if Levia gets 7 to 9 blood debt in her banish zone. If I'm a Lexi player, I'm like, cool. I'll just block with all these 3-block arrows. And then one day you're just not going to be able, or one turn you're not going to be able to banish a blood debt card or 6 attack, and you're going to take 10 damage.
And you did nothing.
Right. And like all I did was not take damage to do it. Like that trade is just, you're always going to win that. But now if the people don't know that in the room, then she has some crazy damage output, no on hit effects, but like some decent damage output, and she can put a game down. But
Well, we also have the Levia, the Reinar disguised as a Levia. And they don't play any blood deck cards and just pummel that deck.
Don't you mean carrying Husk with Reinar?
right.
Ah,
But that, I mean, ever since Starvo's gone, like
that niche is not needed
right,
at
like
the moment.
who are you doing that against? What are you gonna club? Fight
Isn't
to
she
death?
just
Like-
isn't she just inherently bad against all aggro decks to begin with?
she's only good against the middle of the road decks, right? Because if they're
Sure.
too fast, they'll just outrace her. But if they're controlled, they're just gonna block her and she'll kill herself.
Sure.
That's kind of her problem.
She weak.
Okay.
She weak
She
and
weak.
she ain't being
Weak.
fight.
Put her down there a little below Icelander.
Yeah,
just to
Oh,
make-
yeah.
Nah, but she
Oh,
go
yeah.
all the way to the left though.
All right.
Yeah, I
There
don't
you
think
go.
A little more.
All right.
Actually, just put her in the
Oh,
fucking corner. Put her in the
All
corner.
No,
Time
that's
out.
that's reserved for Azalea.
Yeah,
Okay.
we
Yeah,
already
well,
know that one.
we don't need to
talk about
say
it.
anything about
Yeah,
her.
just go ahead and put her there. Although,
As a ranger, I'll move her slightly over because she has disruption.
Well, she had a top 8.
she has
She
a
had
little
an
bit
8
of
top
legend.
8.
She got one top 8.
Is she the
Yeah,
only
right.
hero without living
out
legend
of
points
7
still?
heroes in a tournament,
Right.
she got top 8.
If we're going by number of top 8s, then he goes over here too, huh?
Yeah, ain't no wrong.
Hey,
Well, Josh,
Kano.
you took the season off. Look, this is your fault.
Yeah, that's what happens.
It's
You,
true,
you got
very true.
I'm carrying Bolton's living legend points by myself. So Azalea, what is there to say about her? She doesn't block very well.
Mm.
Her
She don't
mechanics
attack
are
very
clunky.
well.
She's
She doesn't win very well.
Inconsistent, doesn't attack well, and doesn't block well.
And she
I'm
trips
not
over her own
Not
tripwires.
sure what
She
else.
doesn't win very well. I see myself.
yeah. So
Oh man.
I'll,
Just end the
I'll-
video
like,
on that.
I need to tell a story about Azalea, okay?
Please
So
tell me a story.
we were trying to figure out like what this is back when I was in Hong Kong, and we were like, I actually built an Azalea Blitz deck. I had 3 decks sleeved up. I had Dorinthia, Ira, and Azalea. Okay. And I was just, playing some practice games with Azalea against my friend, and we're like, wow, it just can't win, right? And so my friend was like, all right, let's have an experiment. Okay. It's like all your arrows have +1. All right. And I was like, okay, fine. And we played a couple more games, and I still couldn't beat my friend.
Still got clapped.
And so I was like, it's not the numbers, it's just the hero design is bad.
Right.
So the fact that your attacks have to come from arsenal, it just makes it too clunky. The whole reload mechanic is clunky. Like
Yeah.
Very
everything
realistic.
is very, very clunky. Yeah. So even if LSS was like, all right, Azalea, all your arrows are +1. That's we're errating your hero. Okay, your hero has its ability, and all your arrows get +1. She still wouldn't be higher than like here. So, if you like playing Azalea, keep playing her. But I mean, I think you're just gonna have to wait for some very, very, very powerful cards to be printed for Ranger, or give her a talent. Maybe she can do better with a talent. I don't know. But for now, she will sit in the corner with
Very long.
Levia.
Bye bye, Azalea.
All right. Let's talk about Kano.
Oh.
This is a deck that we saw a tiny bit at Pro Tour 1.
Yep. It's trash now.
I think in general, people are not running as much AB, and being at 30 life means you have half a turn to set up against Fly.
Yeah.
So I'd say, like, if you literally, like, Briar has the problem of, you got to draw Channel Mount Heroic. Kano has to draw Aether Wildfire. However, Briar has 40 health and can block properly, and Kano can't. So very inconsistent, I would say, against Phi. So it's got to be somewhere on the left here. Where would we say, in terms of the y-axis, Kano's at right now?
Weak because of one card, Oasis Respite.
That is basically a silver bullet. Yep.
You can literally, any aggro deck, any control deck, can run no AB, right? And gain all the benefactors associated with what's associated with their armor, right? So you can like still run Tunic and get free resources. You can still, get all the Snapdragons, get your Go again. You can keep all those benefits and just run 3 Oasis, park one of them in Arsenal, and went, you got Wildfire? Okay, and I got like accidental AB1. Okay, it does nothing, right? And like, you just can't, you just can't do nothing about it.
This is what made Oldhim and Bravo in Blitz a hard counter to Kano. Is
Right.
If they ran Steadfast, there was no way for Kano to win.
Mm-hmm.
So the Kano player either had to go fast enough that they couldn't find Steadfast, which is very difficult to do, or they play so slowly that they realize they don't have Steadfast, and then they could combo. So yeah, do we see Oasis Respite in the sideboards often, though?
No.
Not at the moment, right?
Because of its power
But it is
level.
possible.
Because of Kano's inherent power level at the moment, there's no need for it.
Right.
You're not going to dedicate 3 sideboard slots to a deck that is going to show up 1 out of every 1,000 people in an event room. That's just not reasonable. Kano has always had this ability to be a silver bullet in a room because nobody respects the deck. But that also, for it also to be good, it has to be a mildly slower format. because it does take a few turns to make sure that it can get what it needs.
Right.
Fi is not going to give it those turns. Boltyn, Bravo is not going to give it any cards to handle. There's just Prism is a bad matchup. Briar is a bad matchup.
Dash is a bad matchup.
Yeah, Dash is a bad matchup. There's nothing more that needs to be said about it, because if you can't beat those decks, people aren't going to bring it, and then so nobody's going to respect it.
Yep.
And if nobody
And-
respects it and it still can't win, that's it. That's not where Kano's going to shine.
And we have to remember that the aggro decks at the Pro Tour were Chain and Starvo, and those decks couldn't kill Kano on turn 2 or
Right.
3. They
Right.
needed turns to set up.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
but Fi can actually just present 30. Good game.
Yep.
Starvo can stumble and Kano can just block. Chain, they could just block Chain for a few turns. Arsenal of Wildfire kill
Yep.
you. That's where it shines, when nobody brings AB and it's allowed to block.
Exactly.
You know what I realized is technically this should be here, right? Because Fi could always beat Fi.
No, Fi is a
But
50-50
he can always
with
lose
Fi.
against Fi
Yeah.
too.
Oh, that's
He-
true.
Fi
Well,
is a 50-50 with
We had
Fi.
it perfect.
I didn't want to cover it this way. That's the problem.
Nah.
All right.
He's
Okay.
being
Anyways,
All right, let's
Trying to
do-
hide the
show.
spice.
Let's do Dromai.
all right. Let's do Dromai.
Yeah, Alex, how do you feel about Dromai now?
So I will always love Dromai, just because that is the play style that I like to play, which is why I enjoy playing Prism occasionally. I am a mid-range player at heart. I love board presence. Back in my Magic days, it just reminds me of Planeswalkers, right? Now I have dragons. The problem with Dromai is that it loses
slow.
to itself. Like its design requires way too much going on. And
Well,
every
it's
time I've
kinda
played
like Azalea.
it, yeah, and there's probably a little bit more to it than I give it credit for, because I mean, I don't know how, but I would like to know. One of the Dromais made it into top 8 of the calling. So, there's that. Dromai has won an RTN this season. That's more than a lot of decks can say, it is putting up some results, and I have seen it win. I've seen it beat Viserai, which is supposed to be a really bad matchup for it. It can beat pretty much any deck at any given moment when it starts with 2 dragons on the board, and your opponent just doesn't have ability to kill them. Cards like Necria and Dracana Optimi, these cards are tough to kill for some decks, but they don't present enough damage when your opponent has 6-pop in their hand. Your turn just kind of ends. So that has that problem where, like, Boltyn's running a lot of 6-pops. Prism's an unwinnable matchup. Briar, anytime it has Channel Mount on the board, there's just no way the Dromai can win. Fi's too fast. Bravo has too many poppers. Like, it just has so many problems against so many matchups in the format. But if the format ever decides to go mid-rangey and slow back down, it will do kind of what Prism does, and it will spike some events because people aren't ready for it. If those 6 blocks or 6 power attacks start to come out of people's decks, Dromai will see an increase in popularity to make people respect it, because they do have some powerful dragons. And if they ever get 1 or 2 more cards, like another really powerful dragon that they can play 3 of, or in addition to like maybe another really powerful red card like Sweeping Blow or something, it might be a better deck at that point. But because of its design and because of its position in the meta, it's not going to be good against Fi, and it's not going to be a powerful deck right now.
All right. So where would you like to put her?
I would like to put it about right there. I think that's fine. Maybe a little bit more to the right, but just because I think it's better than those other 3 decks. But if you can have one of those good turns where you're able to, I don't know which dragon it is, Dracana Optimi or Tomotai or something. One of those dragons is able to kill the armor.
Tomotai, yeah.
Yeah.
High roll that, hit that turn 0, game.
You have these. It does have high rolls, which its high rolls are not as high as a lot of decks in the format. But I think it's a fun deck. I think it punishes people who don't know how to play against it. But if your auto losses are basically to Prism, Briar, Viserai, and Phi, you're not gonna do well in the format. I'm sorry.
So
Yes.
question is, once you think Prism LLs, that auto loss matchup is gone and people take the sixes out of their deck, you think it will
I think it
might
will
be
see
able
an
to spike
increase in
an event?
popularity. It will see an increase in popularity, but as long as the format stays as fast as it is, it will not. It will not do well.
Well, I mean,
That's
you both-
where Dromai suffers, is against Phi and Briar and Viserai. Like the decks that attack on just too much. They're like Viserai has too many rune chants. They play too many red cards. Phi goes too fast. Briar has Channel Mat Heroic and can pop every card in their deck. That's my opinion on the
Well,
deck
I
there.
mean, I think there's more to it than that, because like the 4 decks you just named were the 4 most represented decks of the calling, and she
Right.
still got to top 8.
Yeah,
So,
no,
like,
like I
there's-
said, there's probably something more
Yeah.
to it, right?
Right.
But what that is,
I haven't looked at the
I-
list. I don't know
I don't
what
know if we have
they
the
were
list
doing.
yet.
Yeah, they're
I-
out. They're out
they-
now.
oh, they're
But I
out?
just
Okay.
haven't looked. But like, so I guess for her, this placement is kind of pre-calling. We haven't looked at that list and see what that person figured out, and maybe they came to something that, because there has to be something there against those aggro decks, or there's no way you'd make top 8 if 50% of your field is unfavorable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the list right now. It's
Looks pretty regular.
Pretty regular. There's 3 Fate for Scene, 3 of that all you got,
Right.
3 Burn Them All, 3 Oasis Respite, bunch of dragons,
He's got a plan and he's
And-
sticking to it, I guess.
and he's got the 3 Semblance for kind of an end game scenario with he's not playing Energy Potion, which is one of their plans, which is put energy potions on the board and Semblance at the end of the game on your Ghostly Touch.
Yep.
But I don't know. Doesn't
Well-
I don't see it, but he's clearly got something figured out.
He's
and
doing
mad,
something.
Mad respect to him.
That man went 6-0 in draft. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, that could be
That
it.
al-
Like
that-
like
That
legit.
also could be it. Yep.
Legit could be.
Props to him
So-
though. He had to have won games with Dromai, so like that's insane.
Right.
That's all.
Oh,
Right.
no, mad respect.
So Alex and Seb actually gave me a perfect segue into talking about Dorinthia. You guys talked about how when Prism LLs and heroes that people don't know how to block properly.
Mhm.
Go back to Old
All
Faithful.
right, let's talk about our OG 3 heroes here. So Dorinthia, Iron Song, where does she go right now?
Yeah, Josh, where does she go?
I recently posted a deck list on the TheCardGuyz YouTube page. That deck list is old. Do not run that deck list. That deck list was before RTN season came out. That deck list was designed to, I thought Oldhim and Bravo were going to be much more of a problem, and even Dash might be a problem. So that is a pump focused deck. The best builds of Dorinthia right now are front pump builds. That makes you very bad against Prism, unfortunately, but that's just something you have to live with. So what do I mean by front pumps? I mean things like Nature's Path Pilgrimage, Steel, Sharpened Steel, Plow Through, stuff like that.
Warrior's Valor.
Dusk Path Pilgrimage, Rainbow Warriors Valor, things like that. So currently, actually, if you want to build goagain.deck for Dorinthia, that's actually very easy now. Rainbow Warriors Valor, 9 cards. Hit and Run, 9 cards more, 18. Glint, 21. Run Through, 24. Blade Flash, 27. Bolters,
Spoils.
28. Spoils of War, 31 now. So, I mean, if you want that type of consistency, you can make it 95% consistent in terms of go again. So actually, Dorinthia, I think, is actually fine against aggro decks. So I would still say she's not quite quick enough. She's actually quite decent into the Rune Blades, I would say. But I'd say she's not quite quick enough against Phi, even though I think you could build a very warped Dorinthia deck that could get to 50-50 against Phi. But I think if you want to make your matchups more balanced, I think you have to sacrifice that a little bit. But in terms of power level, I'd kind of put her. I think she feels slightly more clunky than I want it to these days. I think it's mainly because jamming 6 yellow cards into your Drury deck kind of makes things weird. So the 6 cards I'm talking about are Glistening Steelblade and Run Through. So adding those plus Singing Steelblade and Twinning Blade, now you have minimum 12 yellow cards. So I noticed as Dory kind of drawing kind of clunky hands. I would say still she's in a fine position. The only bad matchup she really has is against Prism. The current build is also going to be bad against Oldhim and Bravo. But overall against the rest of the meta, I think she's okay. But not favored into 5 because I think you're slightly too slow. Because even on a good turn as Dory, you're only dealing 18 damage or so. It's not really that high. The way that Dawnblade works is like, okay, I'm going to get an incremental exponential advantage. But I mean, Phi is totally fine giving you another Dawnblade counter and going down to like 4 life and then just hitting back with 5 cards, right? So the way that the turn cycles work and the way that Dawnblade work don't really work that well into Phi. But I think against slightly slower aggro decks, I think, especially with the reduction in defense reactions, I think she's, in terms of power level, totally fine. I'd put him kind of equal to these right here.
Cool.
But slightly to the left, unfortunately.
Also, Runeblade lost 3 armor block, taking
That
out
is
Skull
true,
Cap
yep.
and then Blood Chief getting banned,
Mhm.
which actually matters a lot because I played against that in the RTN season and lost on Briar to the Dorinthia.
Yeah, once you have a counter, and maybe like you go Warriors Valor into a counter that they can't just throw the fridge in front of it and give you no reprise. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of where Dory is at. There is another build for Dory, obviously not just Dawnblade. There is the Hatchets build, but
We
the
don't gotta talk
Hatchets
about
build
that.
was very niche. It was kind of as a silver bullet against Sarvo.
Yeah.
In that it could go decently against that. But currently, just if you run the Hatchet build, nobody really respects. You don't have
You.
on-hit effects, so nobody respects you as a warrior.
There you go.
So
Sacrifice
yeah,
your
so
warrior integrity.
yeah, don't sacrifice your warrior integrity and run Hatchets right now. Don't do that. So yeah, I think she goes there.
I think
Any
your
other
response
thoughts
to
on her?
that. I think your response to the Phi meme the other day with your Dorinthia response was pretty accurate. It's like, all right, you go ahead and get your counter.
That's Graham.
That's
okay,
cute.
Grandma, have
Yeah.
your counter. I'm
So
gonna attack you for 40 now.
Yep.
Yep.
It's the
All
best
right.
meme that's come out so far.
Mhm.
All right, let's talk about Reinhardt.
Ass. Bottom left.
Reinhardt.
Yep.
Is he?
Where does Reinhardt fit right now? He's probably pretty similar to.
Pretty
I
similar
don't
to
know.
Levia.
He's definitely weak. So he's definitely below the line.
You can't beat Phi. Phi's
Can't
gonna
beat Phi.
eat. Phi's gonna eat all that damage to swing back with even more.
Phi's gonna eat his breakfast. Damn it. That's
He's
what's
probably
gonna happen.
somewhere around Kano, right?
Yeah,
I'd say
so,
they're
like,
all about the same right there. Yeah.
Nah, it's gonna be,
so something that Nam just mentioned is that the on-hit effect for Brute is damage, and Phi has that damage, but more of it, unfortunately.
A lot more.
I mean, Reinhardt right now is. I mean, what makes him good in Blitz and bad in CC? Is it because
20
you need
life?
2 blood
Yeah,
rush
20 life,
fellows?
yeah.
20
Rush
life.
Bella?
20 life.
20 life. Got to see a blood rush.
He's only got
People wanna
so many
block him
turns
Blitz.
that he can do the intimidate to you. The intimidate needs to kill you.
Phi doesn't have stubbies and
You could think of Reinhardt's ability as like super route. Like at some point, there's like a deterministic win for Reinhardt if you're low enough, which
Yeah.
comes very, very quickly in Blitz, right?
Yes.
The Reinhardt player can look at his hand and like, yeah, I just kill you, no blocks, you're gonna die, right?
We know
same
that.
with the old the old Kano, right? But yeah, that threshold just doesn't happen enough in CC.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any like super favored matchup either. That's kind of
No.
been even like things that on paper should be easy, like against Prism, because he's so many poppers and action points. You still got to roll scab skins. That's really, really risky.
Yeah.
I don't quite think Rhino's where you want to be.
I just feel like when you have when you said like with the damage output, when you have Rune Blades and Ninja doing so much damage, and then Guardian just blocking better than him, he's just too down the road middle lane when the game is all about either attacking for above rate with a 0 for 4, or blocking above rate with cards like even bigger than that, Sink Below, things like that.
Reinhardt is too fair. This is where Raiden Boltyn would go, by the way. You're too fair of a deck. You can have some impressive turns, but they're too few and far in between, and you just don't do anything that makes other heroes afraid. Even though he has Intimidate as the base mechanic. So yeah, we're gonna stick him there. Any other thoughts on Reinhardt?
Stay away. Next hero.
Yep.
Another thing is he didn't really get an upgrade from the Dory versus Reinhardt deck, unfortunately.
No.
He got Alpha Rampage.
What?
He got Alpha
He got
Rampage.
Alpha
again.
Rampage. That new card, Alpha Rampage, right?
What a waste.
You got the new weapon, man. You got the new weapon.
The exact
Right.
same thing with no text.
Yeah,
In one
you
hand.
got the new weapon. He can play the Arcane Barrier Lantern now. He's
There you
broken,
go.
dude.
Yep.
Okay, so when Reinhardt goes to Living Legend, then Levia still has a weapon, a club, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
That's what that was for, right? Okay. LSS thinking so like next level 4D chess in the future. All right.
Or not.
Or not. The final hero that we have is, I guess we kind of saved this for last because this is the OG ninja. And our whole discussion here has been talking about the new hotness, the new ninja. Where does Katsu go on this scale?
In the trash? No, he's not that bad.
No.
Like Flick Flack is a card, right?
Yeah.
And you gotta respect.
Flick Flack's not very good against two
Flick Flack's
attacks over and over again.
Well, I'm just saying, like
Like,
I mean, it's good value, right? Especially on like an Art of War turn, right? It cuts off points. Like
Yeah.
if somebody can make a deck that has a whole bunch of on-hit effects, but at the same time blocks really well and can like pick its spots, maybe, right?
So I Katsu was my first kind of like baby in CC, and other than Prism, but I did really well with Katsu at an RTN on the last RTN season, which has been a long time ago.
Mhm.
But the reason it was so good then was because you were only being attacked 2 or 3 times a turn. As soon
Not
as
7.
exactly, as soon as like I was even beating chains back then because I was
Right.
fatiguing them because they hadn't figured out how to attack 6 or 7 times in a turn yet and save until the end of the turn, and do all those things.
And they didn't have Spellbound Creepers either.
and they did-
Creepers, baby.
and they didn't have Spellbound Creeper. There was a lot of difference back then. So
Yeah.
I was beating Dorinthias, and I was beating, pretty much every other deck in the format because every deck was fair back then, and that's where Katsu is a brilliant masterpiece because it blocks above rate, right? You're able to flick flack the first attack at break point, block for 5 on the next attack, and that's only 2 cards, and you blocked for 9. That's crazy good, especially because you didn't have to use any resources. You can keep your blue Kodachi, red card, threaten, mask, trigger, arsenal. Like that's the rate you want to be at with Katsu. And then for like the last season, we transferred into this Katsu deck that has even bigger than that, and kind of basically got rid of the whole I'm going to play a fair game plan and start going to try to be what Fi's doing now, which is put 30 to 40 damage on the table. But because of Katsu having been out for so long, everybody's pretty familiar with being able to block it and what they need to block. Don't block the surging, block the whelming. Like they know how to block these things. And and that meme kind of hits the nail on the head. For those that aren't familiar with the meme, it's basically a young guy tapping grandma on the back and says, and grandma's like, Kadachi threaten mask, and Fi's like, draw your card, grandma, here's 50 damage. It seems irrelevant, right? Because
Right.
Briar's faster, Viserai's faster. Like Katsu, as much as Flick Flack does, cannot block rune chants that, and it just can't block everything. The deck's the deck's not as versatile, and Fi's doing what it's trying to do, but just better. It has the ability to put out the damage. It has all of the block. Like Katsu didn't get the Flame Scale Furnace. Katsu didn't get the Tiger Stripe Shuko. I did.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. They're both draconic, right?
It did get the Tiger Stripe
Okay,
Shuko
sure,
because
it has-
Genji can run Tiger Stripe Shuko.
Okay, sure. It has the Shuko, but it just doesn't have the damage output that Fi has, and
So what you're saying is it's too fair.
it's too fair, in my opinion.
So-
Yes. I think it can still
you
be
go
a
over
good
here.
deck, but
Another fair deck.
yeah,
Who would have guessed? WTR heroes are fair.
yeah, it does beat up on Prism though. I'll give it that.
Mhm.
It's true.
Well,
And
All
I
right,
like
so
that.
we have put all the heroes onto the map.
Took us.
only-
Is there
yeah.
is there
it took us 2
anything you would
hours.
like to is there anything you'd like to shift to the left or right or up or down?
Negative.
Looks good.
It's
Nah, you
perfect.
should
No
put-
changes.
Put Azalea more to the left.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. There you go.
No, all the way. It's got to be touching.
That-
Wait, keep going. Keep going.
Okay, there you go.
Almost. Oh, Josh blue balls me. God damn it.
No, this is all it goes
Oh,
to.
it is. Okay.
It's slamming.
I want this shit to stop the
I
picture.
slammed her against the wall there. Okay, for you.
Break the chart.
There we go. Yeah, if I could, we put her over here, right?
All right, there's one takeaway I kind of want to present to you guys from this chart. That I guess it's not very intuitive just to read the chart and look at it. It just looks like the heroes are kind of everywhere, right? There's a theme here. If you're good against Fi, you're not great into the rest of the format. If you're
Yes.
bad against Fi, you're also not great into the rest of the format.
Yeah. Yep.
But if you're a strong deck, you might not be good against Fi. Like there's nobody that meets both of the criteria to get put in that top right corner.
Yep.
There's levels to this shit.
And that's generally where there's a problem. But we won't get into that because I think the format is still not 100% solved. So I think there's still some creativity to be done, but and I don't think that LSS will try to do anything about it in the meantime before the Pro Tour. They're gonna let it play out most likely and just see what happens. Give people time to try to correct the format, but
It'll get corrected. Hopefully.
we can hope. But don't lose hope. If you're a dedicated whatever player, don't lose hope. Big tournaments, there's many decks to be played against. You could easily dodge your worst matchup most of the tournament.
Shout out Christian Gerties.
and take down an event. So
There you go.
anybody want to include anything else?
I think player skill also provides a lot in Flesh and Blood and where your hero lies. I think there's merit to it. So play to your strengths, play the hero that you're very comfortable with, and you will see better results than maybe trying to pick up Fi and try to do crazy things.
I think all of us are a testament to that here. I mean, Kyle doesn't get to play as much as the rest of us, and still he knows Ninja and came in with Ninja, had a game plan. He knows how to play Ninja and topped an event. Like Sebastian was a chain player through and through. Even when the format was changing, people were trying new decks. He was like, I am still very good with this deck, and I still
Mhm.
think that I'm going to win with this deck, and he did. Like everybody here has a hero that they've stuck with for pretty much, that they can default to and win in pretty much any format. And I think that not everybody can do that, not everybody can just pick up Bravo or pick up Boltyn and just win an event. So I think there's a lot of merit in playing and really, really learning a deck.
There's also something to be said that in every single product release, the number of heroes has gone up, even though 2 LL, 3 entered, right? So
Mhm.
the number of matchups that you need to learn is actually going up, which rewards people that have stuck with the hero for quite a while. Like, I may not have played against a Katsu this season as Dory or Boltyn, but I've played against them in the past, and I can retain that knowledge forward, right? So it means
Yep.
as we progress forward, the specialists actually have less matchups that they have to learn. And yeah, so I think if we near like 20, 25 heroes, things are going to get really, really crazy. And these videos are going to get really, really long.
Yeah, we might have to figure out a way to.
We might
shorten it
have
if we get
to
30
do this
heroes
on the
on board.
weekend and live stream it for
Yeah.
everyone to
Yeah.
talk to us on. I have like a full day.
that yeah, that might. Yep.
Mhm.
That's a great
And
idea.
just like if we actually made a blitz list, which I don't think we are, there would be
We
like
should.
10 or 15 extra heroes to talk about. So
I really.
We'd have to give an abbreviated version for all.
yeah. Yes. Yep.
I'm glad we had
Yeah.
friendship tonight. This was a lot of fun to make. Hopefully, a lot of the people watching understood where we were coming from when we were talking about some of these heroes and kind of understand what this chart represents in the grand scheme of things.
As
Yeah.
always, feel free to refute it in the comments down
Please,
below and let
please.
us know why.
I already know it's getting timestamps, man. Just DM me if you got any issues. So I mean, yeah, I don't know if I mentioned the beginning of the video, but this is also going to be on Spotify. I'll probably insert like an intro before the intro, telling people it's also going to be on Spotify, so you guys can listen on the go. If you just want to hear us talk while you're traveling for work or going to an event, maybe you guys want to have the conversation alongside us. I know we've done that before in the past in other card games where we listen to some and then we also talk about it. So maybe you guys want to do that. That'd be something that'd be beneficial to your entire car, traveling to an event or something. What are the next events we have before we sign off? You guys are going. You guys have Lil. We
had skirmish season coming up.
That don't fucking matter. So
It's an event.
What? I want to play some sealed, right?
Aren't there sealed skirmishes?
is it sealed?
Some of them.
I
are,
am
some of them are
not.
blue.
Okay, I'll probably play
there
one or
are
two
sealed
skirmishes because why not?
Sealed
but-
Uprising is a solid 1 out of 10.
Maybe.
I would not drive to the mailbox to play sealed.
I mean, ain't your mailbox like 2 miles out though?
That's not the point. That's not a joke.
They said I'll bring the event to you, and you said no.
Yeah.
It's like you have to host the event at my house, and then I'll join. Okay.
So we got
I
Lil.
still wouldn't.
We got Lil. We got Pro Tour.
Nationals.
Lil, which is Pro Tour Nationals for the entire world, and then we have Worlds in November. So that's gonna be. We've got a stretch ahead of us, and we have a lot of testing. So I'm looking forward to how we develop as players in that time frame too. So
all 3 formats are going to be split format, and there is a BNR after.
it's the week
Tour.
after
Pro
Pro
Tour.
Tour. It's the
Yep.
30th, so it'll be like that
So
Tuesday after Pro Tour.
The Pro Tour and US Nationals or Nationals globally might have different metas, and if Prism wins Pro Tour 2, that will
She'll
actually
LL.
LL her, which will
Bitch going
remove
bye-bye.
her at the end of August, which will create a brand new format because there's a lot of heroes here that are being repressed by the presence of Prism.
The presence of Prism.
So,
I will LL her. I will do it for you guys.
Please get her out.
all right, please LL Prism.
I'll take the hit for the team.
And there's probably another BNR between national season and worlds,
Worlds.
because there's
Is there a new
there's
set?
2 months.
I believe.
That
A
is
supplement?
after worlds.
Okay.
That is after
Yeah.
worlds, I believe.
Oh, so the next set we get is Afterworlds?
It's gonna be a while.
I thought it was right before.
Yeah, I thought it was right before too. We'll have to look into it.
Could be.
Yeah. That would be cool. Like
Please.
if it's before, then all 3 formats
It's a
potentially could be
supplemental,
different.
right?
Yeah, it's
Yes,
100%
it is.
supplemental.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uprising is the only draft set this year.
Frick yeah. Well, I had a good time tonight, guys. We gotta do this more often, of course. The people love it. I like talking to you guys, even if it's for an hour and 40 minutes, you know. I love it. Alex, take us away. Say words and get us out of this video.
Thanks everybody for watching. Shout out to all our patrons again. You guys have really put in the work, and I mean, we have all been super impressed. If you guys are interested in joining that Patreon, I mean, it's super cheap, and we've got a ton of good people, not just us in the Patreon, that are willing to jam games, help you learn when we aren't around, and a bunch of good benefits. And we're always open to helping each and every person for their individual needs, whatever it is, games, deck knowledge, just helping out in general. Our TCG player affiliate link, if you want to use that, make sure to, it's really simple. It's in all of our descriptions of our YouTube videos. You just click the link, buy the cards you want, costs you nothing. It helps us out, and it's a huge benefit for us. And thanks again for watching. Let us know in the comments down below what you thought of the video. Like the video if you did enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel if you are enjoying the content and want to see more of it. And we look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. This has been the Card Guys with another tier list video.
Bye-bye.